All right, hello, welcome everyone. So everyone's probably set up wherever you're set up, and feel free to get yourself comfortable. We're not going to need too much room, hopefully just enough so that you can lay back somewhat comfortably, as well as be able to stand up and then not hit anything too far in your vicinity. So what we're going to begin today with is just a warm up to get our heart rate and our muscles all warmed up. And that's going to be about 7 minutes. It's going to be a 30 seconds on and 30 seconds off. So the way I'll be doing it is I'll do a 30 seconds where I'll demonstrate what the exercise is going to be like and the progressions that you can take. So there's going to be some beginner progressions as well as more advanced progressions, and you pick the one that fits you best. And then we're going to do that exercise for 30 seconds. And then the next 30 seconds break, I'll be showing the next exercise that we'll be doing, so on and so forth until the end. We're going to have a quick water break after that, and then we're going to get into the actual Muay Thai. We're going to keep it basic for a day. We're going to do some jabs and crosses, as well as some knees. And from there, I guess I'll get you guys' feedback, and we'll see how things go. All right, so to begin, we're going to start our warm-up. Just going to get a timer out. So the first item on the list here is going to be a cobra push-up. So we're going to be starting out with a regular push-up position here. The way we're going to do it is we're going to go downwards into our negative. Then we're going to peel ourselves up and kind of try to arch your back as much as possible. And then coming back down and then pushing ourselves up. If that is too challenging, you can take the easier progression where we go down in a negative. Now we're going to cobra up. And then from here, we're going to reset ourselves back to a push-up, where we can go down a negative again, cobra up, and then back to a push-up position. So our first progression is going to start right about now. So make sure when you do this, you give yourself time to fully extend with your back and get deep into that back bend. 5 seconds left. Time, break. All right, next item on the list is going to be our jump lunges. So it's going to be as follows. We're going to go into a lunge, and we're going to hop up on this leg when we're ready. So it's going to be one leg for 30 seconds, and it's going to be the other leg for the next 30 seconds. So a big area of progression, if this is too challenging and the balance is hard, so be careful with your balance, is we're not going to jump. We're just going to go into a lunge here and then come back as follows. All right, so next progression starts now. In 10 seconds. All right, switching legs. Good, 5 seconds. All right, the next exercise is going to be toe touches. So we're going to go kind of in a downward dog position. We're going to wheel our arms forward. We're going to tap right arm to left leg or left arm to right leg. So we're going to alternate. And we're going to go back out into a push-up. Tap and out. So depending on your flexibility, you can go wider with your feet to make it easier. If you're flexible, keep them nice and tight. All right. Toe touch is beginning now. Five seconds. All right, break. Next one, we've got our ins and outs. So the way it's going to work is We're gonna have our feet close together. We're gonna hop out, go into a wide squat, in and out. As the name implies, ins and outs. So if this is too challenging, you can just take your time and just do squats. Don't worry about the extra in and out step. All right, and let's get started in 3, 2, 1, ins and outs. And time. Good. Next thing on the list, we've got the glute bridges. So the way it's going to be is going to try and pull ourselves as high as we can when we're comfortable, and then we're going to have our leg going upwards. So we're going to go from down to up, and we're going to alternate legs as we do it. If this is too challenging, you can just worry with one leg and don't worry about going up as high. But if you're comfortable, go nice and high up with your glute bridges. All right, starting now. Good, time. All right, next thing on the list, we've got, well, we'll end it here with a quick double taps. So the way it's gonna work is we're gonna jump, and every third time we're gonna try and hit our knees to our hands. So this is gonna be a bit of a cardio pusher. So it's gonna be hop, 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 hop. And if this is too tricky, don't worry about jumping high and hitting your knees on your hands. Just worry about getting somewhat more air on that time, or worry about just doing a little bit with your whatever you can do safely. All right, and start. Whenever you're doing this, try to land nice and quietly on the ground. Five seconds. And time. All right. So please grab some water if you have some. And we're done our warm up. Hopefully your heart's nice and hot. And have some water, and then we're going to get into the actual drilling. All right, so if you're still drinking, feel free to drink. I'm just gonna quickly chat what we're gonna do today. So, starting out, we're gonna just assume that everyone's a complete beginner because I have no interactivity with you. I can't see who's behind the screen. So I'm just gonna assume that what we know is nothing. We're gonna go for it just from the basics and build a good foundation. So, if you've already also been doing martial arts, you know what you're doing, so don't even worry about it, we'll still drill them out. So, first thing we're going to learn is our fighting stance. If nobody's done a fighting course yet, we're going to learn fighting stance right now. So let's put the water down right around now, and we're going to get started. So first, we're going to have our feet just under ourselves. We're going to take a step out, so our feet are shoulder width apart. Now from here, we're going to take a shoulder width step back. And from there, now we're going to bend both of our knees, and we're going to point our knees in the direction that we want to be facing forward. And we want to make sure that our feet are not pointing to that wall or a wall 9 degrees. We want to make sure our feet still point 45 degrees forward. So when I said step back, I should have definitely been clear. I've also got a little a beautiful assistant behind the camera helping out with the clarities, to clarify things. So when I said step back, I meant always right foot. So we're not going to worry about southpaw today because it's going to make things complicated. So right step,
right foot steps back to make our fighting stance. So from here, we're going to be able to raise our hands, glue them right on top of our cheeks, and that's going to be our fighting stance here. So whenever we're going to be doing anything today, we're going to be coming back to this fighting stance. From here, we're able to move effectively, and we're also able to throw our strikes and then be able to defend ourselves in case we need to. So now we're going to reset our stance. We're going to go back to our fighting stance just to make sure we got it one more time. So shoulder width out, shoulder width step back with our right foot. All right, knees are going to bend. Our feet are going to be pointing, left one's going to be pointing directly straight ahead. The right one's going to be pointing 45 degrees forward. And then our hands are going to be glued nice and tightly on our cheeks and our temples. All right, so from here, the first thing we're going to learn is our jab. So in martial arts, especially in Muay Thai, jabs are kind of our prodding tool. We like to use them to poke at people, see if we can draw a reaction, and hopefully get something good out of it that we can set ourselves up for something better in the future. So the way I want you to think about the jab is, don't think about power, think about more of speed and range. So we want to be able to throw a jab nice and securely from our fighting stance. The way we're going to do so, I'm just going to turn so you see this. When I'm going to throw the jab, which is our left punch, I'm going to be turning my body slightly to allow my shoulders to rotate. I'm going to have my chin glued to my shoulder here. That way it's protecting myself from any strike on this side. My arm is going to have time to rotate all the way out, and my knuckles are going to be connecting with the top two knuckles onto wherever we're punching at. And when I say what we're punching at, we're going to imagine in front of us somebody identical in height. And we're going to imagine a basketball just in front of us where we're going to be punching for today. So imagine a basketball in front of you, because we don't have punching bags here, unfortunately. And we're going to start throwing our jabs. So again, when we're throwing a jab, I want us to rotate our shoulders. So we're going to rotate our shoulders at the same time as we extend our punch and allow it to rotate all the way through. So what I don't want to see is I don't want people to be throwing jabs like this, where our arm is not rotating. Make sure we still get that full rotation on the jab. Otherwise, we're going to have pretty wonky punches. And the other thing is, I want everyone to not stand up on your legs. I don't want to be seeing, well, I can't see it, but I wouldn't want to be seeing anybody with their feet just kind of straight up. Make sure we're always in our fighting stance. It's going to be incredibly important. It's going to be a little tiring, but it's important to make sure that we're actually able to do these things effectively. So we're going to throw, let's just say 10 jabs just to get ourselves started. So again, rotating our body, straightening our punch out, coming back to our face. Punch that basketball, coming back to our face. All right, so we're going to do 10 my count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. So hopefully that felt all right. I haven't got anything from Chris, so I'm assuming things are going as planned. So next up, I know this is not enough things to actually master it, but I feel like we're going to get through it relatively quickly, and everyone can feel free to drill these things on your own time as well after the practice. Next thing we got for us is a cross. We're going to revisit the jab in a second, but we're going to get the cross first. So our right punch, we're going to be doing the same thing. Going to go shoulder width out, right foot shoulder width back, bend our knees, feet pointing forward, feet pointing 45 degrees forward, back to our hands to our face, back in fighting stance. So from here, we're ready to throw a cross now. Cross is going to be a more power strike. This one's used to follow up your little prod of the jab. So what we're going to do with the cross is going to be very similar. We're going to rotate our body, rotate the punch, and extend all the way up. So it's going to be relatively similar to what we have with the jab, except for it's going to be coming from further back. Since it's further back, we're always loaded on the right side, especially when we're standing in our fighting stance, which means from a light jab, we can come through with quite a bit more power with our cross. So a couple of key things to note. When we're throwing the cross, our shoulder is going to be glued to our chin. Our arm is going to be rotated as well. We're going to be having our two top knuckles pointing towards the target. And there's an extra step here, which is we're going to make sure that our right foot is going to rotate. So let's see if we can see this here. So if I'm pointing towards you with my fighting stance, when I throw the cross, if you see my leg, it's rotating inwards. So I want you to think about it as it's almost like a drawn bow that's going to be channeling your power forward with your cross. So let's try this out. So again, I'm going to rephrase it again just to make sure everyone's got it. Our hand is going to be coming out nice and straight. Our shoulder is going to be protecting your chin. Our arm is going to have time to rotate, aiming with the top two knuckles. Our right foot rotates and forms a bow to allow us to channel the power through with our hips. All right. So from here, let's do 10 together. Throw in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. So we got ourselves a jab and a cross. So now what we're going to do, we're going to put the two together, and we're going to do quite a bit more iterations through. So before we put the two things together, we're just going to come back and use our brains, because one of the things that helps a lot is coming back to things that we just did shortly before. So we're going to go back to our jab now. So same thing, we've got 10 more in the jab, and then we're going to do 10 more in the cross, and we're going to do something next afterwards. So again, for the jab, we've got our shoulder width apart, shoulder width back, foot forward, foot forward. Last time I'm going to say this, that's for a fighting stance. Hands glued to our temple. If I see your hands down, I'm going to smack on the pool noodle, but I can't do that. Anyways, so for their jab, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. Now we're going to cross again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. So hopefully what I was doing there, helping kind of turn a circle, helps you see what it's supposed to look like from multiple directions. And now we're ready to combine the two. So we're going to add a jab cross. That's going to be the cornerstone for basically everything that we're going to do in Muay Thai. So we're going to go in our fighting stance. Jab cross is just combining the two things we just did. Now here we're going to have to think about our shoulders far more than anything else. What I want you to think about, even before we start throwing our hands, is think of your shoulders rolling forward. So our left shoulder is going to be ahead of us, and then rolling our shoulders with the right shoulder head next. So think of it as the left shoulder forward, back with left shoulder forward. That's going to help us propel our arms and also allow our hips to get into the picture. So when we're throwing punches, one of the biggest things that people do is they throw it with their hands, which makes them look fast and makes them look kind of mosquito-y. But that's not going to really do much for us when we're trying to defend ourselves or actually even compete in a martial art, because most of the power is going to be coming from our core and our shoulders and our hips. So what we're going to do is we're going to need to leverage that now when we're starting to throw, especially the jab cross, because that's going to be the first thing we're going to go from left to right. So when we're throwing the jab, we're going to be rolling, our shoulders are going to be going forward, and our hips are going to be following slightly. And when we're throwing the cross, our shoulders are going to be going, right shoulder is going to be forward, and our right hip is going to be following through forward. So I'm going to demo this out. So our jab cross is going to be left and right. So left, everything on the left side is going to be slightly forward, and everything on the right side is going to catch up and overtake it. Now we're going to come right back to our fighting stance. So I'm going to demo this out again. So our jab cross is going to be here. Roll forward. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. All right. So if you kind of saw what I was doing there, making sure everything is rolling and everything is attached. Think of your shoulders attached to your hip. That's going to help propel the punches forward and actually transfer some weight through. So we're going to do this together. We've got 10, let's go 20. Let's go straight 20 punches. So it's going to be on my count, and we'll get started. So jab cross, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Good. So hopefully that's gotten some feeling for your shoulders and your hips, how things are going to move. So from there, I guess we're going to move on to our next thing. So I'm just gonna quickly check the time, how we're doing for that. And it looks like we're good on that. So you come to a Muay Thai class. There was a kickboxing class last week by Justin, who I heard runs pretty nice classes. He runs them every 2 weeks, and so then his next one will be next week. So you should tune in for Justin's class there. Same time, same place. Anyhow, so he taught some kicks as well as punches. So I feel like for Muay Thai, we're going to get into the things that actually make Muay Thai. So a lot of combat martial arts, especially for striking ones, they allow strikes, meaning punches and kicks. So for example, front kicks and roundhouse kicks. But they do not allow elbows and knees. That's a Muay Thai specialty. So we're going to focus on that for the rest of the class today, because that's something that's important for the martial art.
Just Gosha.
Sorry?
Quick question from one of our participants asking, when you do the jab, do you move your front leg as well?
Okay, good question. So in this case, I did not mention for any stepping. It's because we're an indoor environment. We don't have a lot of room. So generally, I would say I would prefer for everyone to step in with a jab, but due to the circumstances, I do not think that it's required. So generally, when we're going to be throwing our jabs and crosses, or in our jab crosses, we always want to be out of range of our opponent. So if our opponent's going to be in front of us, we want to be able to be completely out of range. So we're going to use this lamp as an example. So I can tap the lamp from here, which means the lamp is in range as my opponent. Now, if I step slightly out, I cannot hit the lamp, and if the lamp was also my size, it could not hit me back with the lamp. So what we're going to be doing is what was mentioned with the jab is we want to be stepping in with our left foot when we punch. That way we can actually reach that opponent and actually get in range to throw our combos. But since we're doing just this at our homes, I think it's okay just to worry about the proper rotation for our hips and shoulders. But that's a very good point. We should be stepping in with our jab whenever we're actually training in a dojo or have a bit more room around us. So feel free to do so in the future. Thanks, Chris. So before we move on, actually, it's a good time for maybe grabbing some water. So let's just water up, and then we're going to move on to the elbows and knees. All right. So I was originally just going to do knees, but I feel like it's good to do a little bit of the four. So we're going to go back into our fighting stance. Shoulder width back, hands up. So when we're doing elbows or knees, one of my first ground rules is you're going to go into danger zone, so you're going to have to be ready to be either burned or be very defensive. So for the rest of this demo that we're going to be doing with elbows and knees, I want everyone to think primarily of if you're in a range where you can hit somebody with an elbow, you're relatively close, which means they can hit you with an elbow as well, and basically everything else that's in the book. So what that means is whenever we're going to be doing these things, please don't drop your hands for your knees below our hips. This is as low as our hands can go when we throw on the knee, regardless of what the part of the stroke. Even at the point where we're making impact, our hands still have to be no lower than this. So think of us elbows never past the hips, and our hands preferably up, which means we can still cover in case something crazy happens. And for the elbows, I want everyone to start thinking about a window. So before we start with everything and start getting confused here, we're just going to start with the elbows. So our right elbow is going to be first because it's the one that's nicely wound up. So when we're going to be in our fighting stance, we're going to be throwing our right horizontal elbow. What that's going to look like is the following. So I'll show that again and again. So there's a couple of things I want everyone to think about. First one is, you heard what I said about defense. So when you noticed, I had my hand glued across my forehead this way when I was throwing a strike. So I wasn't throwing it like this. Because if you see in the camera, you see how much my face is open right now if I'm doing this. Basically all of it. It's a very nice place to get hit with another elbow. So if you throw elbows both at the same time and one person has their hand up and the other person doesn't, one person is going to get knocked out, and it's the person without their hand on top of their head. So whenever we're going to be throwing these elbows, I want you to think about a window. That's what I kind of meant. So when we finish that strike over our right elbow, and same thing with the left, we're going to be looking through this kind of slit between our right and left hands. And that's our little window where we can peek out and still be relatively safe. So, and the other thing I want you to notice, that was the defensive side. The offensive side is we want to use that rotation that we had on the cross, and we want to kind of augment it slightly. We want to be leaning in a bit more, and we want to be a little bit more grounded with our feet, because this is going to be a bit more power associated with it, because we're a lot closer than a cross. We're going to be able to channel quite a bit more force. Don't worry about rotating super far. I don't want anyone to kind of, start doing ballerina spins. Like, yeah, don't do that. Just rotate just enough where your right shoulder and your right hip is ahead of your left one, ahead of your left shoulder, and then we're basically facing directly ahead of our opponent with our shoulders. This is kind of the point where we don't want to go rotate any further past there, because if we rotate past that, you can see how I'm starting to open up again. You've got liver shots, ribs, spinal cord. If you're doing illegal stuff, it's not very good, not so pretty. So coming back to it, we're going to start with 10, and I'm going to talk a bit more. So let's get started with our elbows. Right elbow first, please. Don't worry about stepping in. This is something you probably should step in because you definitely don't want to be in this range, but we're just going to throw the actual elbow for now. So right elbow in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. So hopefully that felt somewhat natural. I'm going to add on a couple of words here. So again, when we're throwing this, I want everyone to think of a bow. The same bow that we had on the cross, I want to see on the elbow. So when we're throwing this elbow, we want to make sure our right foot really rotates. Our left foot's going to bend, and we're going to feel a bit of strain in the glutes just to get ourselves loaded up into that position. So don't forget, your power is not going to come from your arm ripping around because there's only very limited mass there, but it's going to come from your shoulders and your hips and the rest of your body rotating into your opponent. So we're going to do 10 more now, and actually thinking about the rotation, but don't worry about over-rotating. I don't want anyone to think about rotating past where they're going, trying to get a bit of extra momentum. First of all, it's just not safe, and second of all, it's going to be a bad idea in an actual situation. But even if you're just training, it's just good to have good habits. So I want you to think of that basketball in front of you. Now we're going to think the basketball is going to be thrown exactly the same thing that we're throwing at it back at us, which means this hand's going to have to be glued to right our forehead. Don't have it hovering over there. I know your hand might be gross and you want to get away from it, but make sure it's glued on there. So because that way it can actually absorb the strike rather than just hit you with it and then you hurt yourself double. So we're going to do 10 more right elbows. This time around, we're going to get that nice rotation in. We're going to make sure all of the defenses are still there. So let's start back in our fighting position. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. All right. So hopefully that was relatively intuitive. Now we're on to the other side because we've got to stay balanced. So our left elbow is going to be slightly less power again because we're not wound up as much as we are on the right side, especially in a fighting position. Unless you're southpaw, don't worry about that. So what we're going to look for is the same thing on the left side. Imagine that basketball is throwing the same thing at you, which means our right hand is now going to be across our forehead. It's going to be glued on there. We're going to be rotating our hips and our shoulders clockwise. Yes, clockwise is correct. It's going to be not mirrored. So clockwise, and then we're going to be throwing our elbow out that way. So when we're throwing it, it's going to be somewhat like this. It's going to be basically mirror image of what we did on the other side. So hand glued on our head, shoulders and hips rotating, elbow is coming up. And when we're throwing this, one thing I forgot to mention last time is we're going to aim with the bony part of our elbow. So you see there's kind of a nice bony chunk there on both of your elbows. We want to be kind of aiming with that nice bony bit. So imagine that basketball getting hit with bony bit. That's what we're aiming with. Try not to hit with this part right here. If you do so, you could get a little bony shard in your elbow, like me, from doing something silly, and it's going to hurt a long time. So make sure you aim with the strong part, which is right on the top here. All right, so left elbows. We're going to do 10. It's going to be the very same thing. If you feel comfortable, you can step in slightly with your left foot when you throw these. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
10. Good. All right. So let's just get another quick drink of water, a little sip. Keep yourselves hydrated. I'm being told no water is necessary, but you know what? It's always good to be safe. And so we're at 6:33. We're gonna run it till 6:45. So next thing up is we're gonna put the things together that we saw today. We got our jabs and crosses. Because the thing is, with an elbow, even if you're fighting a lamp, the lamp's not gonna let you walk in on it and get into elbow range. That's pretty close and a little bit too close for comfort. So what we're gonna be doing now is we're gonna be using the jabs and crosses to get ourselves in the range. So if you can please find yourself some room. So if you have that 2 meter, we're gonna get ourselves in the back end of the 2 meters so that we have some room in front of us. And then we're gonna be stepping in slightly to get to the other end of the mat where the basketball is gonna be residing that we're targeting at. So what the combo is gonna be is it's gonna be a jab, so a left punch, followed by a step in with our left, followed by our right, and then our right elbow. So for beginners, you're gonna think of it as our left foot's gonna step. Our left foot's gonna step at the same time as we punch, so think of it as a step punch. And then our right foot's gonna follow up, and then we're gonna throw the elbow. And if you're comfortable and you've done this before, you can sync up the jab with the step and then step in with the cross. That's gonna get you a bit more power. So think of it, every time you make an impact with something, you wanna plant that foot down the same time we impact. So if we punch, it's gonna be a step. If we throw the elbow, it's gonna be a step. But for beginners, just worry about either just stepping in, throw the jab, step with the right foot, throw the elbow, and that's fine too. So we're gonna do this. We're gonna do about, let's start with 10 of those. So jab, right elbow, coming back. Jab, right elbow. 2, coming back. Jab, right elbow, coming back. Jab, right elbow. 4, coming back. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. So adding on to that, what we're going to think about now is just a couple of pieces of advice. When you're stepping in with a jab, keep that jab nice and long. I want everyone to think about using this as your reach, using the full reach, making sure everything's nice and straight. And then think of the rotation of the cross as a wind up. So the jab is going to get our left shoulder out there so that when we rotate for the right elbow, we got ourselves extra momentum to throw backwards to rotate our right side in. So for the next ones, let's think about that a bit more. Don't over rotate. I can't see you, but don't over rotate. So we're going to start again. 10 more jab, right elbows. So jab, right elbow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. All right. So now we're going to add in the last piece of the puzzle here, our knees. So we're going to start with our right knee. Again, when we think about knees, we're really close to for comfort. So we don't want to be having our hands low, and we don't want to be leaving ourselves undefended because we're going to be in range of elbows as well as the opponent's knees. So this basketball is going to be now developing into a larger target because we're going to be able to knee it in the sternum. That's kind of what we're going to be aiming for. Gut or sternum. I guess with self-defense, you can go for the nuts, but that's kind of not so good in recreational martial arts. So with the knee, what we're going to be doing is going to be actually relatively simple, similar to the first thing that we did with the warm-up, where we were jumping up kind of on the one leg. So for here, we're going to be trying to maintain far more balance than we did there. So fighting stance, and then next thing, I'm just going to demo this out, so don't worry about doing it with me, or you can play along. We're going to lift our knee straight up. So think of it as everything is going just straight up ahead of us. Now from here, we're going to think of it as a spear. The center bit of your knee is now a spearhead, and we're going to jut it into our target. Now we're going to bring it back to where we are, and then we're going to drop it back behind us. So I did a bit of scuffling there. So bring it up, forward, back up, now down. So what that means is this is almost like a thrust that we're going to be shooting into the target.
There's other types of knees where they just lift straight up, which can work in times, but this is a more traditional Muay Thai move where you make the room, you bring your knee up, and then you fire it forward just to actually get really good penetration to your opponent. This happens sometimes in clinch, where you clinch up with their head, and you pull the room to get enough room, bring it up, and then fire it through them. But even when you're doing stand-up fighting, it's something that you can reach a bit more with. So when you're noticing me, I never drop my hands. What I don't want people to see doing is this. We're not going to be doing no 80s workout videos. So make sure when you're throwing these knees, don't get all fancy. Make sure these elbows stay nice and vertical, protecting our ribs on our sides, and our hands stay nicely on our head whenever possible. When we're doing this, we're just going to do 10, and then we're going to talk a bit more after that. So let's do 10 my count. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Good. So one thing that can really help stabilize, if you felt that you were wobbly there in the air or on the ground, bend your left knee. So whatever knee is below, bending it's going to help you get balance. If you're standing straight upwards, it's going to be really hard to catch yourself when you start going down in any direction. So having the knee bent is going to really help out and keep yourself vertical, upright on the ground. So let's do 10 more here, and think about don't think about your knee going in these, I guess, sideways direction. Think of everything being constrained on a path or a plane just in front of us. So everything's going forward and on that plane. So if I do it in the camera, it almost should look like my knee is in the same place. I did the bad thing. So it doesn't look like it's going left or right. So that's what I want everyone to think about. It's only going forward. It's like a spear. All right, 10 more, please. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. All right. Let's see what we're doing for time. Good. We've got 5 more minutes. So we're going to finally combine everything together. So we've got our jab, our cross, our right elbow, our left elbow, and we've learned our right knee. So what we're going to do, our final combo is going to be a jab, cross, left elbow, followed up with a right knee. So we're going to be putting everything together that we've learned so far, and it's going to nicely wrap up the day for us here. So what I'm going to want everyone to think about is have your nice bit of range. If you're a beginner, stay planted. Don't move your feet. If you've done this before, you can step in with your jab and cross. So our left, followed by a cross. And I'm going to throw our left elbow, making sure that window is up. And then from here, we got ourselves wound up to our left side. So we're going to unwind ourselves and throw that knee to be able to get that nice penetration forward. You're going to bring yourself back to fighting stance. So we're going to do it from this angle. So jab, cross, left elbow, right knee. And then I'll do demo one more. So jab, cross, left elbow, right knee, coming back to fighting stance. So we're gonna go do this. Yeah, let's get in 10, and then we'll talk a bit more, and then we'll wrap it up, do another 10, and we'll wrap up the class for today. So on my count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Good. So last little bit of chit chat before we do the last 10. Think of yourself with the steps. So when we go for the jab and the cross, we've got ourselves a bow. Now we're going to straighten out the bow. Really think about straightening out that bow to get power on the left side. So we're going from bow to everything on the left side, and you can even bow on the left side. So think of it as a bow on the right side, bow on the left side. That's going to help drive the speed and power on the right to left transfer. All right, 10 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so hopefully that made sense to everyone, and gonna end up calling it here for the class. And if you have any comments, please let me know. And yeah, please feel free to take the next 10 minutes to type in your comments or actually chat and stretch. Totally do some stretching right now. And I'll be beginning some stretching. You can feel free to join. And I'll hand the microphone over to Chris.